Roommate available. Retired teacher, 63-year-old retired teacher, who looks 40-ish and better than the average pill-popping, sweet-eating, dangerously obese American, is seeking a living space where I can just be me and you can just be you, and we don't have to interact. Though if we're on some kind of similar wavelengths, we can and should, and it would be enjoyable. But if, oh, what a challenge. What a challenge it is finding a place when you're a 63-year-old, retired, medically retired, for various reasons which I will go into. But I am seeking a living space where I want to do what I do, which is just live, cook, go out with friends, get up when I want to, go to bed when I want to, and not really bother anybody. I don't want to do anything unusual or extreme. I just want to have a little freedom, like I have for my whole life. Want to be able to make an omelet in the morning using the stove. Imagine that, being able to use the stove. I want to be able to store some milk in the refrigerator. Imagine that. Can you imagine living in a place where someone tells you, well, there's no room in the refrigerator. We don't have any room in the kitchen. You can't put anything in the kitchen. I want to have some cupboard space where I can put a box of cereal. Cheerios. I like Cheerios. Wheat Checks are good. Grape Nuts. I don't go in for much of that sweet stuff, the frosted flakes. And although every now and then, Cocoa Puffs. God, I have a box of Cocoa Puffs. Cocoa Puffs. Yeah. But for the most part, I just want to have a place. Oh, well, we don't have any room for you to put any cereal in the kitchen. No, there's no room. And I don't. I truly don't. Because I am not 3 years old. I'm not 4 years old. I'm not 5 years old. I'm 63 years old. I've lived in 7 countries. I've taught in 3 of them. I've been a teacher for 30 years. I don't want to hear about how I should comb my hair, or brush my teeth, or park my car, or how to keep a towel in my room. Now, if you are listening to this thinking, what the hell is he talking about? What kind of nut job is this? Well, I'm just scratching the surface of the insanity of people that you could rent a room with. Did a whole bunch of interviews. Now at 63, even though I actually do, I could probably pass for 50 if I really wanted to lie on a good day, And I've met some really strange people and seen some strange places. For example, try to keep this one quick. There was a guy in La Mesa, and he had a house on the side of the hill, and it had a not a basement, but it was the underneath the foundation thing, and he dug out some of the dirt, and he created a room down there. And he put a window in the side of the wall there, so it seemed like somebody had actually planned to have it, but it was just it was the dirt underneath the foundation. And then he put in a toilet. Toilet. He had to, I don't know how this works, but he had to put it at such a level that when you were sitting on the toilet, you had to lean forward to the point because your head would hit the floor above you, which was his floor. And you had to lean forward almost to where your head was in your knees while you were trying to do your thing. I mean, whack jobs. So anyway, that met a lot of very interesting, oh, very interesting people trying to run out weird spaces so they could have a few extra bucks, which they need. They do need it for reasons that I'll go into here shortly. I think. I don't know. I don't plan this stuff out very well. But I'll tell you, I'll repeat that. I'm just scratching the surface of the insanity of the people that you could end up having to rent a room with if you find yourself in that situation where suddenly, boom, you're out there. You have to find a place to live. Well, unfortunately for me, I did not anticipate several of the factors that have combined. I would like to say conspired, but it's a little too much, to place me in a situation where, not financially ready to get moved out of the place that a developer came in and bought because the rents had tripled in my neighborhood. And my poor landlord was under rent control. He couldn't raise the rents to, the surrounding area's rent structure. And he got fed up with it and said, okay, I'm just going to sell it. So, again, unfortunately for me, I didn't plan well financially because of all these factors that play into this. During my teaching time for 30 years in various countries. And I'm not complaining about that. I mean, I think I already lived, 5 average lifetimes. I am a fortunate human being. And there are a few of us. I may have pushed the envelope a little bit trying to live in 7 different countries and teach in 3 of them, but, then there are people out there that have done, X times what I've done. Maybe a 10, a 5, or whatever. But I also did not anticipate being medically retired due to cancer at 56. 56. I got a decent income. I'm getting along. I can put $2,000 or $3,000 away every month. Don't have to touch it. And live my simple lifestyle. I didn't imagine. I should have, because I had cancer when I was 27. So now we're talking, 56. All of a sudden I got cancer again. This time prostate, they took it out. They yanked that sucker out. Now I got no testosterone, no drive. Women look like men to me. I have no interest in any of them. But the one thing I did foresee the insanity of the Federal Reserve printing press that tripled the rents in my neighborhood while I was living there, and tripled, well, use some factor. But real estate, just ridiculous. If you go back to 2008, 9, 10 to today, some properties have gone up tenfold. And that's all about the guys at the Federal Reserve printing, running that press full time, handing that money out to their friends. And so my landlord decided to sell. Developer came in and kicked us out. Now, where am I going to go? I look around, I look next door, I look across the street, I look down the street, and all the rents are 3 times what I have been paying because of the Federal Reserve. So what are you going to do? You got to go somewhere. So now that magic life, that wonderful life where you had your own place steps from the beach, is gone. We're going to live in a new way now. And I always made the joke before they kicked us out. I said, someday I'm going to be living in Bakersfield. Well, I can't even afford Bakersfield. And that's a place nobody wants to live. Don't go to a dentist or a doctor in Bakersfield. If they're any good, they're not in Bakersfield. So, as the surrounding rent prices went up, and my landlord was suffering under rent control, he began not caring about the property, and it was apparent, the place, we didn't even have a gardener for months. And it's because he felt he was being unfairly treated, and he was. So what a hodgepodge of insanity, and this guy wins and that guy loses, and our landlord was really a very generous guy until he just got fed up and said, fuck it, I'm selling this place. So these Federal Reserve guys, federal, that was, 1913, Jekyll? That was a brilliant stroke, naming it federal, because 99.9 something percent of Americans who hear that name now assume it's some kind of government aid. It's not. It's private bankers that have been handed the ability to just print money as much as they want and hand it out to their friends. And we've been warned about this by a few people throughout history. I'm not going to go into all that, mainly because I can't remember the names right now. But the primary warning was, quote unquote, they will eventually own America. Yeah. Yeah, you hand somebody the ability to print money, guess what? They're going to buy everything. And they're going to own everything. And you know what? They do. Buffett and his crew came in and bought half of San Diego. Forget what the name of the company is, but and so those of us who just spent time living and serving our communities and imagining that life would just go on the way it has always gone on, except for short spurts of insanity, financial insanity, got caught up in this mad printing press, and now we're suffering. We are suffering the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of man to a few people who have their hands on the levers and who can push the buttons on the printing press. And thus we find ourselves unable to live in our own homes. Now, when I say that, our own homes, those of us who rented, who, America was a place to always come home to, we'd travel, to live over, blah, blah, blah. So if you owned a home, well, you're not doing too bad. The price of your home, the not value. Let's just use, nominal prices. Price of your home has probably, in the last 20 years, gone up tenfold. Now, what does that do to your taxes? Property, well, some people probably get in trouble there, yeah, eventually. And as long as these houses are being swapped, you got all the swappers out there that's just trying to make a buck. And so that puts all those property taxes at a new level and gives our government more money to waste. Remember who's running our government? The other crooks, the other 535 that are supporting their buddies on Wall Street who are printing the money and buying everything. And they own everything. They own fucking everything. They own your ass. And so we have to move. And one of the possible moves is to find a room share. So you move into someone's house. You rent a room. And every family has its eccentricities. Let's use that as a kind euphemism. Every house has its rules. And there may be a cast of characters. There may be only one. And when you move, oh boy, you might end up in a house where you're living with someone who has never lived with anyone. You might be living with someone who just never participated in any kind of social activities. They inherited the house from their parents who mysteriously died or disappeared. And, there's a story here in San Diego. This guy in the house across the street from where I was living one time. This guy, we'd see him all the time. Hey, how you doing? He'd be bringing his coffee back from Starbucks. And turned out that he had killed his parents and buried them in the backyard like 10, 15 years earlier. And he was collecting their Social Security and whatever. So they finally found that out one night. There are sirens and there are people with shovels running around in white suits, hazmat suits. And anyway, so, man, some of the people you can move in with, most of them have never owned a passport. I forget what the number is. 80% of Americans have never had a passport. You've never been anywhere, never seen the sunrise from anywhere except for their backyard where they're burying their dead parents that they murdered. Yeah. There are some very creepy people out there renting out rooms. I mean, even where I'm living, there are probably, according to the records that I can access, there are a dozen men who have passed through this room that I'm staying in currently. And I can't contact any of them. Although AAA has told me I have to keep a certain number of them on my insurance policy because they never changed their address. According to AAA and the records, they still live here. I've been wondering what those dirt mounds are in the backyard. I mean, who am I living with? What is going on here? And how could 12 men just disappear? Fortunately, I have a gun. Well, this is another fine mess you've gotten us into, boo-boo. What would Yogi say? Grab the basket. Let's get out of here, boo-boo. I don't know where that came from. But I have to say, attempting to rent a room, San Diego, I mean, lots of people are great. And, you bring your own, what I want to say, collection of eccentricities to a situation, and you try to tone it down. And if you've lived in enough social situations, blah, 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 you can control it and you can accommodate. But there are limits. And I'll tell you what, I can't bear boo-boo. Yeah, Yogi? I can't bear this insanity much longer. Woo. Oh, try to tell me how to park my car once more. Oh, you're going to be in one of those mounds, those strange dirt mounds in the backyard. And it is true. All that comes around is a spinning of the wheel of chance that I invoked. I took my chances. Of course, I had different motivations. I had cancer young, and when I was 27, they said, well, you might have 5 years. Okay, well, I'm 63 now. And 7 years ago, I had prostate cancer. So, I'm still spinning the wheel of chance, and I did not save. I had spent my life living and traveling and not doing the financial thing where, you stay home and save, and you get to the end of life and you go, oh, I got a lot of money, but what did I do? I can't remember. Seems like I did something. We went to Disneyland at one time. Yeah, I remember that. So all in all, I don't feel bad, but oh man, this this last round, prostate cancer and the forced medical retirement, just stuff you can't anticipate. So now I'm got the income cut in half and paying my own health insurance, and we you just assume you're immortal, even though I already had cancer when I was 27, 36 years ago, whatever it is. But now I'm wishing I would have done some things differently, I guess. Should I have not lived in a couple of those countries and stayed home and just, spent, saved and I'm not worried about it. So anyway, Federal Reserve has tripled the cost of living over the past 10, 20 years here. You end up renting a room from some freak. And so if you're listening to this, you're probably, in one of two camps. You're like, well, hell, I own something. I'm not worried. Or you're in the other camp and you're freaking out. Ah! Oh, I don't want to. No, I'm not going out there. So what is the point? Well, the point is that there's no point. Too many factors, too many colluding tempting. It's not like they all got together and said, "Hey, let's see if we can fuck him up." No, they didn't do that. But the point is that there is no point. There's no way to plan when the world has gone mad. And I can put it in a spreadsheet. What the Federal Reserve has done to our country, and I can name some of the characters. So today it's me. I'm trying to rent a room from people with, let's just, euphemize it, eccentric ways of going about living. Tomorrow, now today it's me, tomorrow, the Chinese might decide to send the US dollar to zero. And I don't know what a gallon of gas would cost if the dollar gets just monkey hammered. And I don't know what it would cost to get, a 2-pack of Charmin. Maybe you couldn't even find toilet paper. You're going to have to start going out in the backyard and pulling leaves off a tree if you have a backyard. Or you might have to steal some leaves off the trees of your neighbors. So, and everything you thought you owned, well, rendered to the ether. And now you're groveling to find yourself a room. Groveling to rent a room in a house owned by someone who collects lawn gnomes and keeps them in the refrigerator. Who doesn't use her oven because it's full of cookies. all the simple, taken for granted services that, the appliances. The stove is covered with a marble slab in the house I'm currently living in. And the oven is indeed filled with cookies. You can't use any of the cooking stuff. It's unavailable. And the surfaces of the counters, every surface in the house, unavailable. Because they are covered with strange porcelain dolls and other trinkets valued by the hoarder mind. Person that, if not for some kind of passed down wealth or inherited or some kind of insurance payout, or for just the good fortune of having owned during the Federal Reserve's printing spree, belongs in a special kind of padded room. And this is what you can look forward to if you find yourself attempting to rent a room. And this is San Diego, where a high-tech, high education level, generally a pretty smart, well-integrated crowd. But man, we got some whack jobs out there. Good luck.